Hey, how's it going, everybody, and welcome back into the SFS channel. My name is Gavin, and today we've got our first video in a few days here. I've been gone over the weekend. I was having a vacation weekend in Chicago. That was pretty fun, but we're back at it today, jumping into a half PPR mock draft on Underdog Fantasy as usual here. As always, if you're looking for a draft guide this season, head over to Underdog. If you haven't created an account, sign up and use promo code SFS when you deposit $10 or more. They're going to double your money up to $100. So you put $10 in, you're getting 20 to play with, and the draft guide's free. You put $100 in, they're going to give you an additional $100 on top of that, and you're going to get the draft guides free every Friday. I will be fulfilling those for you guys, or if you really want to get access a few days early, you can email me, and I can go check with Underdog to make sure that you signed up and got everything squared away. So go check that stuff out, you guys. If you'd like to play in a fantasy league with me this season, by all means, you can absolutely do that. There will be a link in the description of today's episode to join the current league on Underdog that we're filling right now. And remember, promo code SFS when you join that league if you haven't created an Underdog account. If you have, that's great. Pop in there. Let's play a league together this season. It's just a $3 entry right now. We're keeping things pretty light for you guys so you all can get in and get access to playing in those leagues. So one more thing before we get started, drop down, click that subscribe button. We're closing in on 3.5K here on the channel. It's a pretty big milestone for us. After that, maybe by the time you're watching this, we already passed that marker. We'll be moving towards 4K and beyond. So I appreciate the heck out of each and every single one of you guys that have stopped by here on the channel and supported us throughout the 2 seasons that we've been building things up here, and I can't wait to dive into year number 3 with you all. So again, drop down, like, and subscribe for today's video. Let's get started. All right, here we go. We're in Underdog right now. The draft's going to kick off in about 50 seconds. I'm fired up and ready to go for today's video. Again, it's been a few days since I've been able to record or post any content on YouTube here, so I'm definitely super excited about this. We're talking about the draft guides before you guys. As always, those can be found on sizzlefantasy.com. That link, of course, just like everything else I talk about, is in the description of today's video. You can go get those checked out. And if you've already got a Underdog account set up here and you're still looking to get access to that draft guide, you can do so for just $5 a month on sizzlefantasy.com. You can plan it around your league if you want. If you only want it for your league draft, sign up for the month that your league is in, and then you can cancel anytime after that. If not, you can keep it throughout the entirety of the regular season, because SFS Gold members, which is the membership package that encompasses everything on the website, is going to get you access to me setting your lineups for you every week, weekly rankings by position, and basically you're going to get access to my DMs on Discord for any questions you have throughout the entire year. You're going to get a weekly article as well for free, and we'll be posting other, obviously, content on there for you guys to take advantage of all year long. So go check out SFS Gold. Let's talk draft now. JT, Cooper Kupp, CMC, the top 3 picks off the board. We're at the 1-9 spot today. I don't recall if I've drafted from this position yet this year. I would be interested to see exactly who falls to me here. We do have some NFL news as I'm sitting down to record today's episode. Terry McLaurin, minutes ago, just signed a new deal, 3 years, $71 million to remain with the Commanders. So that's pretty big news. I actually just released his player profile on sizzlefantasy.com today, so I'm gonna have to go in there and change. I include the contract situation for each player, because that's obviously, I do Dynasty outlooks on there as well. That gets you my redraft and Dynasty guides, all that stuff included, by the way. When you become a draft guide or SFS Gold member, it's the same thing. I refer to it as each. But I include contract details on there and basically the implications that has for their overall short-term and long-term outlook. So obviously now Terry has checked off one of those boxes that can be relatively concerning. So we're on the clock here. I think I'm going to go Najee Harris. I do want to change things up a little bit. The last 2 drafts, I know for a fact I've went Joe Mixon in round 1 each time, and I think that Najee Harris is going to have a ridiculous amount of volume this year. So I do want to have a few shares of him this season. I think he's going to do some really, really great things. This is a half PPR league, and for a guy who is going to have a lot of volume in both the run and pass game, I think that you're going to get a really steady and consistent player at this spot. So the one thing I got to be somewhat careful about is the Week 9 bye, because there are a lot of teams and a lot of players that have that Week 9 situation. So I don't want to load up too heavy and then shoot myself in the foot there. So I'd be super happy at the top of the second round with a DeAndre Swift. A Mike Evans would make me super happy as well. We'll see who ends up falling to us. I will turn the draft board, the big board picture view on for you guys as soon as I make this pick. I just want to see exactly who's going to be available. I don't expect Travis. Yep, there he goes. I didn't think he was going to fall to me. And Swift actually went at the 112. We're seeing a lot of people take him. I really don't want to draft CeeDee Lamb here, having my top 2 picks. I love CD. I will take him, essentially, is what's going to happen here if Mike goes off the board. But that would mean my top 2 picks each share a Week 9 bye, which we could make some sort of a strategy where I'll just punt Week 9 and see what happens. But that's not going to happen. We're going to get our guy, Mike Evans, one of the players we were targeting there. And I think that's a pretty dang good spot to get him on the draft board. His ADP is about 18th overall, so 2 spots ahead, but when you're getting your guy in these leagues, sometimes that's more important than the draft price, and we only reached up 2 spots to get him. He clearly wasn't going to be there our next turn on the board. This is a guy who has legitimate, easily top 10 wide receiver potential this year, and potentially his ceiling could crack him into the top 5 of the position group. You're talking about one of the best red zone, jump ball, possession receivers in the National Football League, in the number 1 passing offense in the NFL last year. And he only had a 16% target share in this offense a season ago. But you've also got guys like Chris Godwin, who I couldn't believe this. I actually just launched or dropped, whatever you want to call it, his draft guide profile on sizzlefantasy.com today. So basically what those are is I include the pros and the cons of their talent and their skill set, all that great stuff. And then I also dive into, 2021 production, how we can project that forward into the future. And then obviously situation. And, just a few things I add in there are, your age and your draft, the capital investment you had, your 40 time, basically pertinent information. And along with that comes your contract and then your 2021 finish. And Chris Godwin finished as the wide receiver 15 last season, yet he missed 5 games. I couldn't believe it when I saw that he was a high-level wide receiver 2, yet he missed nearly a third of the season. That's absurd and ridiculous to me. So if Godwin comes off the ACL and MCL tear, and I apologize, I told you guys I was going to put the board up. If he comes off that tear and isn't 100% healthy, yes, he will probably be playing football and out there on the field. But the main thing is mentally and physically, will he be totally ramped up and ready to go to high level? I absolutely love Chris Godwin in drafts this year. I've not gotten enough shares of him. Right in the 5th round here is perfect territory to be taking him. Maybe it doesn't fit in perfect with this team having both receivers from Tampa Bay, but in the short term, when Godwin's not in that lineup, I think that's going to be really, really juicy for Mike Evans. But still, even when Chris is there, you've got Gronk retired, no longer in the situation. Ding, 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 vacated targets. Antonio Brown, vacated targets there. Russell Gage will come in and I think have a really nice first half of the season or so until Godwin really gets 100% healthy. But especially with Gronk vacating so many red zone looks, the already pretty nice level of consistency that Mike Evans gives you. Now, he's not a high floor player per se, but in terms of the annual numbers he's putting up, they're very good to begin with. And I think that, again, with that number 1 passing offense, you're going to get a top 3 to 5 unit again this year, barring some ridiculous cliff dive and I think the term is actually nose dive from Tom Brady. But that's not something I'm going to project just because I think at this point we would all be foolish to do so. So we're looking at a 3rd round pick here, 33 overall. I should probably close out this window. Would love a James Conner. I would love a Michael Pittman or a Kyle Pitts, the top 3 guys on the board. We're going to get one of them. That's guaranteed at this point. So really excited about what that means for any of those groups right now. Again, I would really like the volume. I think that James Conner in the 3rd round is kind of a draft steal as well. That's a video I'll be making later this week. Are guys that are simply undervalued based on their ADP, and that we should feel very fortunate to get. Now, he's not going to be available for us here. That is okay. If I can come back and get a Travis Etienne as my 2nd pick, and it looks like the choice is made for us, it'll be Kyle Pitts here in the late 3rd round of our league draft for today. Kyle Pitts, I think, has tight end 1 overall upside, but basically what I was getting to is we're 6 picks away. It's honestly a toss-up. Travis Etienne might not be there. I might go with a lighter RB. strategy today, maybe it would be quite a reach. I could go up and take a Breece Hall. I mean, it'd be 7 picks. Essentially, it would be me risking it for the biscuit there and really hoping that Breece is able to take over as a true workhorse this season. It might just be worth it. I'll look at the receivers on the table. Maybe I end up dabbling in that group and then just going after some of these later round running backs who I still think definitely have upside, and in this best ball format when you only have to start 2 RBs on a week-to-week basis, I might be just fine. So if ETN's there, we'll take him. He's not. So I think we're gonna pivot, or do I go Breece? We'll see. We'll see who's on the table here. 2 picks. DJ Moore has a differing bye week than Mike Evans. I wouldn't hate rolling the dice for him here. Jerry Jeudy and him, I actually have back-to-back in my rankings. I'm very high on both of them. You talk about Marquis Brown. The only thing I don't like about that situation is I think down the stretch, and there goes Breece. So I'm not even going to have the opportunity to make that draft pick. I think I'm going to go with DJ Moore here. I don't quite have as many shares of DJ as I do Jerry Jeudy or Hollywood Brown. So we're going to continue to kind of balance out our draft capital investments here. I see a lot of red flags and risks with DJ Moore, but as much as I love Jerry Jeudy, you can still point the finger at him as a guy who hasn't produced at an elite level yet in his career, despite the fact that Russ is there. And he looks totally primed for a huge breakout. He could potentially lead the Broncos in targets this year. All amongst the reasons I love him. He still, last year he missed some games, which is fine. It's not the end of the world that he missed games last season. I'll put the board back up for you guys. And then you've also got the fact that, again, he just hasn't produced at an elite level. We saw a 4 to 5 game stretch to start out last year where DJ Moore was going totally gangbusters and putting up, weekly wide receiver 1 volume. He had 162 targets last year, 28.4% of the target share. Yes, I'm pulling these numbers off the top of my head because I just made his draft guide profile this morning. Again, I've been cranking those out like crazy all day. I'm trying to get 5 to 10 out per day for you guys so we can have that list totally finished out and have a ton of content for you guys to dive into on the draft guide here. I've got my top 24 receivers in there right now, finished and completed. The rankings are all done, by the way. Essentially what these draft guide profiles are going to do for you all is that when you go to the ranking sheet or the search bar on the site, you can search up a name and then you can just link it back to a different page. So if you're on the ranking sheet and you just click on DJ Moore's name, it'll send up it'll open a new tab and basically send you over to his profile. But the volume is great. He's clearly positioned to be the wide receiver 1. And then the other thing is if you obviously just search in a player's name and they have a profile completed, it'll pop right up. You can click on it and go look at it. So all stuff I'm trying to add and incorporate for you all to take advantage of in those draft guides. But DJ's got everything checked off in terms of the volume department, but it's really the quarterback play that's held him back to this point. I would honestly like to see a Baker Mayfield introduction to that situation because I think that consistency-wise, he might have a higher passing floor in terms of the quality of targets thrown DJ Moore's direction because his catchable target rate and his target accuracy ranking last year were terrible. It was in the 70s for each of those stats, I believe. Terry McLaurin, another guy who really struggled in that territory. So the upside is there. The player is there. DJ's only had 4 touchdowns, though, as his ceiling throughout his NFL career. So there are red flags. I do think that I'm going to get a lot of volume and opportunity for plays to be made for those top 2 receivers on this team. But with that being said, it is not a perfect situation at the end of the day. Oh, man, there he is. Chris Godwin in the late 5th round. Do I plunge? I mean, I would be without both of those guys in the same week, which would be a bit risky. I think I'm going to go Juju here. Had I not taken Mike Evans, I would probably take Chris Godwin every single time here. I think that, when you look at the situation, if you're not going Murray or Hurts, or Juju. I mean, I've really started after diving in and really seeing the numbers with Chris Godwin today. I'm that much more of a believer. But how much do I increase the risk of my team? I feel like when Chris Godwin is healthy, and let's put it this way, you know what? To heck with it. I'm going to do it. I mean, now I just need to make sure I don't draft another Week 11 bye receiver, but Week 11, I should be fine. Receiver is the deepest position on any given fantasy team if you draft it properly and correct. And, when I thought about it from this perspective, is that if I drop 1 week because those 2 players are out, I can probably live with that. It's fine. But down the stretch of the season, when A, Godwin is healthy, and B, both of these players are still in a top 5 passing offense, I think I would still rather have 2 guys that I know exactly what they're going to do for that offense and that team, and both bring very nice ceilings to the table, versus drafting a Juju Smith-Schuster who looks positioned to be the number 1 wide receiver for Kansas City, and I think will have a very good year. But at the end of the day, if both of them are healthy and you've still got a plethora of other weapons and targets in that Kansas City offense, I think it's safe to say that Godwin's weekly ceiling might just be a little bit better based off of what we've seen recently from Juju. Now, obviously, I think early in the season, Juju will get the upper hand on Godwin because, like I said, I don't know if he's going to be the most productive player right off the bat, but we are going to need to make sure we go some other directions with those bye weeks so that we don't totally screw our team over here. But I do like the way this team and the direction this team is headed. We do already have Kyle Pitts, so Dalton Schultz is kind of off the table here. I think that would be a bit of a wasted draft pick. I might just get Juju here, and that totally works for me. I'll take that every single time. Otherwise, I wouldn't be opposed to taking Elijah Mitchell here. Oh, there he goes. Okay, so I'm going to get exactly what I want here. I get Juju and Chris Godwin, so I just broke down the situation and, had my little ADP battle there with those 2 players mid-video here, and we end up landing both of them at the turn of the draft board. So I could not be more happy with how that played out. Had I reversed the roles and drafted Juju Smith-Schuster first, I don't know if he would have still been there. So now you're telling me that I feel much more comfortable. I can roll in with DJ and Juju as my wide receivers 1 and 2 in week 11. I think things should go pretty well here. This is not quite RB0 because I did draft a running back in the first round, 9th pick overall. We do have ourselves 1 elite tight end, 1 elite running back. I think Kyle Pitts, again, does definitely have tight end 1 upside for a guy who had 1 receiving touchdown in his rookie season, despite the fact that he is one of, I believe, just 2 tight ends all time to have 1,000 yards in their rookie season. So he did some ridiculous things in terms of efficiency, yards per target, deep targets, and just being a really, really dang effective player when given opportunities to produce. Kyle Pitts did some awesome things last year, but when Matt Ryan was 31st in red zone passing accuracy, you're seeing how that was hurting Julio Jones recently, not this season because he was a Tennessee Titan. But, down the stretch, the last couple of years he was in Atlanta, you really saw his touchdown numbers struggle when he wasn't hitting big plays over the top. And you're really seeing why. Kyle Pitts had the exact same problem, and he's a 6'6" target that is just as athletic, if not more athletic, than Julio Jones. When you factor in the size and level of athleticism he still brought to the table. So, insane stuff there. I actually think Marcus Mariota will be a lot better than the casual fan might expect him to be because he's not an elite NFL quarterback. I think a lot of people are sleeping on what he brings to the situation at a surface level. And when you dive into the numbers from Tennessee, you see how good and how many seasons in a row. I think it was 3 really quality seasons, maybe 4 that he delivered. But I think for that 4th season, he wasn't the starter for the entire year for the Titans. But Delanie Walker, a far less talented tight end, arguably not in the prime of his NFL career, was putting up great numbers, 100-plus target seasons, and even getting close to 1,000-yard years, a handful of touchdowns as well. Not really elite touchdown production, but very, very solid TD production. And that was all from Marcus Mariota as his quarterback. And again, Kyle Pitts is a totally different animal in terms of what he is as an overall athlete and player. So that blows that Miles Sanders just went at the 7-1. I kind of had him in the back of my mind as someone who I wanted as a high upside piece. Perfect for this best ball format where you're starting 2 running backs, a QB, 3 wide receivers, and I believe 2 flex spots. I could be wrong about that 2 flex. Is it 1 flex or 2? It is, in fact, 1 flex. So really, it's just those high upside pieces that are going to be in the lineup every single week. I actually do want to look at the draft board right now and start to get a thought process put together. I could go for Clyde here. Wouldn't be my favorite choice. I would like an A.J. Dillon. I think that's a safe floor play. I could get Kenneth Walker here in the 8th round. I think that would be a reach above ADP, but I know for a fact he won't be there after that. So I could reach for him a little bit. Tony Pollard is someone who I still think Zeke's going to be very involved there. If you've watched some of my videos or YouTube shorts this offseason, you know that even when Zeke had the PCL injury last year, it didn't affect Tony Pollard's volume and usage in a positive way like you'd expect it did. His volume didn't change at all. Zeke's just went down. They passed the football more. So maybe they make a change. Maybe they, throw a wrinkle into the situation here, but I don't think that'll be the case. I love Treylon Burks here, actually. And I think that's where we're going to go. Michael Thomas has a Week 14 bye, which works well with our team, but I haven't seen the guy play football hardly in the last 2 years. They brought in 2 other really talented receivers. I think he can still be a nice high floor player in PPR, but I'm going to take the upside. I'm going to go after the guy who I think has the chance to perfectly fit in to that A.J. Brown role for this team. So I've got myself a situation here where I could either go after a really nice value play at QB in 5 picks from now and get a Dak Prescott or a Trey Lance, 2 guys who I think have really nice potential at that position, especially Trey Lance could be a top 5 player if he runs the football enough. He's almost, certainly going to be the starter. There he goes, so not going to have the chance to do that. Or I dive into Ken Walker here. I'm actually not a super huge Dak Prescott guy, and I do think there are quarterbacks later. Matt Stafford being one of those guys, actually, that I would probably just take before Dak Prescott, so I should just pop this window open. From Derek Carr to Kirk Cousins, we've got options. So if Kenneth Walker's on the table, I'm going to draft him here. I really need to address the position and get like a legitimate potential starter or guy who's going to have a nice role in this offense here. So I'm going to fill out that group and probably take Pollard or Walker here at this 8.4 bend just for structural needs of this team. For the purposes of best ball formats and wanting upside, I would have preferred Kenneth Walker there. But of course, he flies off the board right as I'm about to pick. So that makes this situation, oh God, and Tony's got a Week 9 bye. So that literally doesn't help my case whatsoever. So I'm just going to go, screw it. I'm going to go after Matt Stafford here. I'm going to pass on Dak Prescott because I think Matt Stafford just has a better surrounding situation than Dak does right now. There was other receivers on the board that I wouldn't have minded taking, but I feel like if we're losing value at running back and there's a clear hole on that part of our roster right now, I better address a different hole on the team and plug that gap up first. I'm not position filling. That's not the thought process here. Essentially, the thought is I could have drafted Christian Kirk, Allen Lazard, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, all guys who I have some level of liking for in fantasy leagues this year. But receiver is already clearly the deepest spot on this team. We've drafted 5 of them. We only have 2 overlapping bye weeks. Yes, they are 2 of our 3 receivers drafted first in terms of order off the board. However, the receiver position is already the motor of this team. That's where the strength and the core of my lineup should be on a week-to-week basis. 3 receivers and a flex. I'd be comfortable rolling out 4 of these guys each and every single week. Running back is the clear weak spot here, not because of a lack of top-end talent. I think Najee Harris fits in perfect for that purpose, but we don't have another running back on this team. That's just how today's draft went. And so the RB2 spot and the potential need for an RB3, because these guys are going to have bye weeks, so we're going to have someone plug in and fill, and you're going to have injuries. I need to draft at least 2 to 3 more running backs in today's video, probably 3 at bare minimum. So if I wasn't going to reach, Tony Pollard was the last running back that went. I could have reached for a Kareem Hunt, a Cordell Patterson, a Melvin Gordon. I just don't see that. And for that matter, Kareem Hunt and Melvin Gordon have Week 9 byes, which is where I kind of talked about this might get a little tricky, which it has gotten a little tricky on us very quickly here today. So basically, this is like modified RB0. And it's not working out perfect. I will admit that. I'm not overly enthused with how today's draft's going because looking at the running back position group here, I don't love the names we've got left on the table to fill that number 2 spot in this lineup. James Cook is someone I want to look at here. I don't think CPAT's going to be there. I could take Rashad Penny, who's supposed to be the lead down back for Seattle early in the season, and then I need to draft some guys like a Damian Pierce, who could hit late in the year, or Rojo, who could find himself some niche short yardage situational value here. Nyheim Hines, who's going to have an avid role in the passing game. Who else do we like on this list? I'm just going to star these guys up so that we don't miss the boat here. Chase Edmonds could have a really nice situational role. The thing we have to be really careful about, though, is that we need to draft players who have some value to their team and to their lineup outside of being just a handcuff. That's where I think drafting handcuffs gets really risky in fantasy football, because you don't want to draft someone solely on the fact that their starter could get injured. I've said this numerous times, gotten in slight squaffles in comment sections about you can handcuff your top running back. That doesn't bother me. If you're going to draft DeAndre Swift, for example, if you want to take Jamal Williams, it's not great value, but go for it, because I understand what you're losing if that player goes down. But when we start handcuffing guys for the sake of having the backup running back for teams in case the starter gets injured, you're limiting the upside of your lineup at other spots on the board, and you're really hindering the chances that you're rostering players that have legit fantasy opportunity. Take a flyer on a guy who has the potential to carve out a role in his offense even if the starter's healthy, and then if something happens to that starter, they add more onto their plate. Don't take a guy who, Derrick Henry, for example, yes, he's going to be your top running back, so you're probably going to want to go out there and draft, I'm totally blanking on his name right now, but he's the rookie running back, Hassan Haskins out of Michigan. You're probably going to want to go out and draft him. But let's say somehow, let's talk about a round 2 running back here. So Leonard Fournette. You're not going to want to draft Rachaad White just for the fact, if you go running back in rounds 1 and 2, just for the sake of having an insurance policy. Now, maybe you have an analysis, and I'm not saying that I don't. This is literally just an example. But if you don't project Rachaad White to have any value in Tampa's offense outside of handcuffing and being the backup to Fournette, then that might be a wasted draft pick if Lenny never ends up getting injured. So here we are. CPAT is still on the table. I'll scoop him up here. I think he has enough standalone value for me to be comfortable with him. There he goes. So I'm not risking it whatsoever. I'm drafting James Cook. I think he's got a really good chance to be in a high level of production in that offense. I can't believe Devin Singletary is being drafted above James Cook at times. I just think that James Cook is a better athlete. He's a better pass catcher than Devin Singletary. And obviously the Bills just spent a second-round draft pick on him here. So I think that it's not ideal that he's our RB2, and we need to get someone that has more immediate lineup value. However, I think that it's going to play out just fine for James Cook long-term throughout the season, and maybe by the end of the season, if these are my top 2 running backs, we're feeling pretty dang good about that. So there goes Chase Edmonds, there goes Rashad Penny. That kind of stinks. Does open the door for us to draft another receiver here and continue adding to the strength of this team. I see no one better than Christian Watson to take right now. Again, 23 to 25% of the Green Bay target share. If he's able to get out there, produce, and find trust with Aaron Rodgers, that's going to give this receiver position absolutely loaded upside between Burks and Juju and Evans and Moore and Godwin, Watson. It's too good to pass on. I don't know if Jameson Williams, he's not going to fall to us. And I'm comfortable doing this. Then I think we solely just lay it out on the line to get ourselves some running backs. We're 16 picks away. The odds of Damian Pierce being there are virtually non-existent, but if I can get my hands on Nyheim Hines down here, I wouldn't be opposed to Isaiah Spiller. I don't love him as a player, but I think that in short yardage situations, he should have some utility just because he is a significantly larger back than Austin Eckler is. We are 10.5 rounds deep into today's video. I'll pop the draft board up for you guys so you can see exactly what's been happening since the 7th round. If you're enjoying today's video, please drop down, leave a like, and subscribe. It helps us out a ton here, and we're trying to grow the community, help out as many fantasy players as we can this season. And obviously, guys, promo code SFS. Get yourself hooked up with a free draft guide on sizzlefantasy.com and check out some of those features I've been talking through in today's episode. Also, if you guys have questions, drop those down in the comment section. I'll get back to you guys as soon as I can. And once I see those pop up in my inbox, I'm usually answering those right away. Sometimes YouTube kind of does you guys dirty and doesn't put it in my inbox, and it just happens to be that I scroll through a video and find comments that were not answered. So I really apologize about that. If that is you, please join the Discord server, because I definitely go on there and check that stuff and don't miss any messages on there. So, but of course, we've got ourselves just a quick opportunity if you want to drop a question down there in the comment section below, to go right ahead and do that. I'll answer you guys to the best of my ability, and of course, help you guys out, try to win your leagues this year. So that's what we're all about here. I want to be the most interactive fantasy channel on YouTube and get you guys feeling very comfortable and confident in your draft strategies for leagues this year. Let's see. So we're heading into the 11th round. Alex Madison, who's like the poster boy right now for handcuff running backs that you should not draft. You're just seeing people go completely nuts about him because his ADP is a little high for a handcuff, if we're being entirely honest. But at the same time, you're hearing reports and rumors about Dalvin Cook not being used in a true workhorse fashion this season, having a little bit more of a broken up timeshare between him and Madison, getting him out in the passing game more, not using him so much as, again, a 3-down, 20-plus carry per game back. That's fine. I mean, I think Cook's still going to be insanely efficient. He's one of the best running backs and players at that position in the league, but it's also one of the most valuable rushing offenses to have. So again, if Cook is your top running back on your roster, I don't hate handcuffing him, but Madison has kind of found himself becoming, again, that poster child for that position group here. We've got an auto pick. It's Michael Gallup. I would hate it if that was me there at the 11-2, but it wasn't, so good stuff there. I'm not hating how this team is turning out now that we've seen just a few more rounds. I think things are turning out pretty decent, knowing that James Cook is our RB2 again. Early in the season, that's going to hurt, so we're going to want to get some other names in there to address that positional need. Namely, I would be ecstatic if Nyheim Hines. Oh, man, Dameon Pierce is still there. If I could get myself hooked up with Nyheim Hines and Dameon Pierce, I would absolutely freaking love how this team was put together. We've got to make it through 3 more draft picks, though. I'm not so confident he's going to still be there. Now it's just 2, but I'm still not going to get my hopes up. I will reach right down and draft Hines at this 11-9 just because of how desperate that need is for this team. There he goes. So I will take Nyheim Hines here. Again, I just don't want to miss out on that position group. What do we got here for a bye week, actually? Just want to check this before. Pretty sure it's week 14. It is week 14. Draft him up, Nyheim Hines. Welcome to the squad. Great value as a pass-catching back. We are 6 picks away. It hurts my heart that I'm not going to get Jamison Crowder in today's draft. However, our receiver group is loaded to the brink here with 6 names that I feel very, very good about. Would love to make that 7, but we'll see what ends up happening through the rest of today's episode. I think Spiller is my next. Let's just pop open the running backs window here. At a point, Tyron Davis-Price is definitely someone that I would like to take advantage of. Darrell Henderson, I think, is a little bit undervalued. I think that Akers' injury will play somewhat of a factor early in the season, but ultimately we're going to see and find that out. Again, I think Jamal Williams might be a nice name to target later. There goes my buddy Jamison Crowder. So that's off the table for us. Rojo, again, is still someone who I think has legitimate opportunity to be a standalone value, especially in standard leagues this year. I might go ahead and draft him because on the goal line, I can't imagine that CEH or McKinnon are going to beat him out. And if he can just give us like average floor numbers, I might go Rojo instead here because then I can really get a pool of, and Spiller goes. So it is Rojo. Rojo is the pick here. So we've definitely got a top-heavy running back core, but the hope here is that Rojo and James Cook can hit on some upside, carve out those niche roles. James Cook will not be a workhorse running back, but if he can just be the holder of the lion's share of the work in that offense. It doesn't mean that he has to be a, 15 carry per game player. His skill set is more valuable as a pass catcher. If he can be really efficient and get out in space and have a lot of yards per touch, that's really what I'm looking for here. Again, as long as Najee Harris is healthy, we're going to be just fine at that position group for this team. Nyheim Hines should hopefully give us a decent floor, and he'll scamper out in space and score some touchdowns every once in a while in the passing game. So pop open the draft window again, even though we're just 10 picks away. The draft is motoring through here. I am a bit disappointed. I usually love taking me some Van Jefferson around this time on the draft board. Would love to have stacked him with Matthew Stafford. Didn't get the chance to do so in today's video. That is okay, though. Again, we desperately need running backs, so I'm starting to feel better about positional balance right now. We're 10 picks away, so I'll keep that open for a bit longer. Now I'm more so just concerned about drafting best player available. I'm totally out of the position filling market, and we weren't even position filling, we were running back addressing, because that becomes a severely desperate need. And in this league, where there is no waiver wire ads, there are no trades, I mean, there are potential fantasy stars, quote unquote, that might not be drafted in this league and will never play a factor in this type of a format. Think of a James Robinson from 2020. I don't think too many guys in June of 2020 were drafting James Robinson to their fantasy teams. And as a matter of fact, he was a waiver ad in many of my leagues. So kind of crazy to think about that. Someone might emerge in training camp, an undrafted name, someone gets suspended or injured, whatever happens. There's a lot of opportunity on the rest of the draft board, and today, and literally every video. So let's see what we got. 6 picks. We got 6 picks left to make a difference on this team. I'm feeling a lot more comfortable than I expected to when we started out today's video from the 1.9 overall pick. Oh man, we're really approaching our selection quickly here. Gonna have to figure out what direction I want to go in. It could be Tyron Davis Price time. I'm not super interested in a lot of the other names at this spot in terms of just ADP. I like Josh Palmer. I like Alec Pierce. I like having shares of those players. But to me, for this team, I think it's more valuable to add a guy like a Tyron Davis Price who could have a big late season breakout. If something were to happen to Elijah Mitchell, you're playing in a violent rushing offense. This is a team that runs people into the ground, and just a situation in San Francisco that if you are the lead back in this offense, fantasy points will come your way. That's not something to dispute. They're going to get the running game moving, and they're going to get a lot of touches to that lead back. And we saw last year at 205 pounds, Elijah Mitchell would wear down at times. That's why he only played 11 games last year. I'm not ready to slap the injury-prone tag on him, but if Tavis Price can surpass our boy Trey Sermon from last season, that was a total flunk, I think that, if he's everything that Sermon was not and that they were hoping for him to be, you've got yourself a really nice opportunity here. So I might just dabble in and get Alec Pierce with this next pick. Let's see, who else? What other directions could I go? I think that's really the best situation for this team. KJ Osborne is another pick. George Pickens are both players who I've messed with at times. I love Pickens as a player. I just don't know how he fits in as another boundary receiver for this team. I think it's a high ceiling or bust type thing for him. I'm going to go Alec Pierce. I still have a sneaky feeling about him. I do believe his bye week matches up with somebody else on this team. Yep, Christian Watson. So I'll have 2 rookies gone in week 14. Higbee was another name I was looking at there as a reserve tight end, but not really worried about that. Kyle Pitts should be just fine to start for this team every single week except for week 14. Cam Brate, his ADP has rocketed up. His ADP was like 210 last week before I went on vacation. Obviously, with Gronkowski retiring, that changes that whole situation quite a bit. I feel really bad for all the people that were drafting Gronk throughout the summer because you're really looking rough at your tight end spot now. Fortunately, I didn't draft a single share of Gronk. This is probably our 10th or 11th mock draft of the summer. I never drafted him, never invested once because I just had this feeling that it wasn't going to end up too great. And now I'm thanking myself for that later because I didn't, throw money down the toilet drafting someone who's not even going to be playing. But there is totally the potential that someone way more meaningful to any of my teams goes down and drops like a fly, especially if it's one of those guys that I've drafted a heavy dosage of shares of. You're talking DeAndre Swift, Joe Mixon, other players, hell, Kyle Pitts at this point. I've probably drafted 5 or 6 times in leagues. If that type of a thing happens, then we're really getting into murky territory because those teams will end up being quite sad. I am liking how this team is being constructed, though. If you guys have differing thoughts or opinions, let me know where you would have drafted someone else, your thought process, all that good stuff. I'll get back to you guys. I'll let you know exactly what I was thinking if I didn't illustrate that already with today's picks. Interesting adjustments in ADP. We're seeing some guys who I would not expect to be so highly favored in drafts. I'll pop this board up again. I'm sorry. I'm terrible about this, you guys. I'm always popping up the board later than I should have been. A tight end 2 is really what I should address. QB2 is something also. So I've got, 4 picks here. 2 of those picks will have to be for reserve positions in case something were to happen to the other guy. One of my favorite reserve QBs, just because I think they've put a really nice nucleus around him, is Jared Goff right now. We've already seen guys like Daniel Jones, who I think has some nice rushing value added to the table. He's off the board. Jameis has a really nice receiving core now. He's gone. Matt Ryan, probably not my favorite fantasy QB, but he's off the table as well. Zach Wilson, wouldn't mind drafting him as my QB2. There is Jared Goff. Carson Wentz, I think, is really undervalued at his ADP right now. We're seeing Deshaun Watson tank with rumors about his potential season-long suspension here. Baker should see his ADP on the rise because him and Cleveland are done. Let's also look at Jacoby Brissett's at 215.9 still, even though he'll probably end up starting a good chunk of the season. I think that if Zach Wilson takes the next step forward as a passer this year, he could have a really good ceiling between throwing to Garrett Wilson, who is one of the most talented, best route runners in the league already as a rookie. I mean, we haven't seen him play NFL football, but as a prospect, he has absolutely nasty potential. And then you've got Elijah Moore, very, very good player from the 2021 draft, and Corey Davis, a former first-round pick. So he's got a lot to work with there. I might... come on, man. I was just about to say I might draft J.D. McKissick. Would have been sneaky. Check out other running backs here. Jerick McKinnon is interesting in Kansas City, but I think he's kind of a situational RB3 there. I think the boat has kind of sailed at that position group. I think I'm just going to go for Hayden Hurst here. I think that anyone involved in the Cincinnati Bengals offense has some sort of upside. And Joe Burrow, at times in his career, has really seemed to thrive when throwing to tight ends. And I think Hayden Hurst is probably the best pro tight end he's played with yet. Obviously, him and, I forget the kid's first name, but Randy Moss's kid from LSU, they seem to be doing pretty good things there. You come into the league, you've got CJ Uzomah. He had some success with him and Drew Sample. We'll see if Hayden Hurst can continue to carve out, it'll probably just be like a 10 to 12% target share, but those red zone targets will be valuable. He's a former first-round pick. He does have talent. It's just both situations, he's gotten unlucky. You've got Mark Andrews, who gets drafted 2 rounds later than you in the 3rd round of the 2018 draft, when Hurst was a first-round pick for the Ravens. They end up moving off of him come contract time for understandable reasons. Then you go to Atlanta. You do nice things in your 1 year starting there. And then they draft Kyle Pitts 4th overall. So 2 of the best tight ends in the league have replaced Hayden Hurst. It's not even so much that Hayden Hurst is underwhelming. It's maybe he wasn't the first-round pick he was drafted to be, but he's literally been replaced by 2 of the top 3 to 4 tight ends in the NFL. So just kind of bad luck for him there in terms of what that's meant for his career trajectory. But I will take Goff here at the 16-4, a little bit ahead of ADP. Doesn't bother me, though, especially for just getting a high-floor quarterback to go with Matt Stafford. Differing bye weeks, it's a close one there, but ended up dodging the bullet with that there. Let's start. I'm going to pop open this window for you guys. early in the clock this time so that we don't totally miss the opportunity for you guys to check out what's been going on here. I'll talk through some names I like in the 13th through 16th round that I'm seeing going off the table. In the 13th round, I got Tyron Davis-Price, which I was pretty happy with. If I had an earlier pick, maybe for this team, Kenneth Gainwell could have been a nice fit. Robert Tonyan, possibly Josh Palmer, but wasn't available. I do like Palmer because he can stretch the field and be a red zone weapon for Herbert. In the 14th, Gus Edwards is coming off a pretty substantial injury, which worries me a bit, but it will be a running back by committee style system in Baltimore. At least that's the expectation. David Njoku was one of my favorite sleepers for this year, pre-Deshaun Watson news. And by pre-Deshaun Watson news, I don't mean the initial allegations. I mean when we heard that there were 66 of them or whatever, and then 24 new ones, and now he's settling those. And I don't think Watson's playing football this year. Therefore, David Njoku, I might as well just delete that video. I'm not going to do that, but it's kind of funny, though, because it still gets, like, comments because people are still viewing it. And they'll be like, Watson's not going to play this. And I'll be like, well, yeah, if you look when I posted this on April 24th, you're going to realize that we didn't know any of this stuff yet. We opened up a whole other can of beans that we'd never seen before. So, that's that. Higbee is another nice sleeper tight end. Jamal Williams, Cam Braid, KJ Osborne. I do really like some of those names. George Pickens I would have loved to have on the team. I just felt that at that particular draft spot, I would like Alec Pierce a little bit more. Marlon Mack is someone that can be a really nice running back to have early on this season. He's expected to lead the way for Houston early in the year, and to be quite honest, between him and J.D. McKissick, I maybe wish I would have went one of those two directions outside of Alec Pierce. But I'm still feeling fine about those two position groups. Robbie Anderson, someone I won't have any shares of this season. With those retirement rumors, I don't think he'll actually retire because I think that Robbie wants his money. But I don't blame him. Sam Darnold's been pretty sad for him to this point in his career. So we're closing in our final two draft picks for today's video. Again, like and subscribe if you're new around here. And go check out some of our other fantasy videos in the cards. I'll link some playlists, some other videos we posted here on the channel. Last week, we post the Weddle every day here on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram Reels. Go check out the link in the description of today's video. We've got all of SFS's other social media platforms and outlets for you guys to check out. So Muffin Buns is on the clock. Here goes Paris Campbell. I should close out of this, figure out what we're going to do here. Devin Duvernay is a nice sleeper. Might toss him into the fold here. Nope, there goes Devin Duvernay. Nico Collins, another potential name. AJ Green could be a guy who early in the season has some good success. Leviska Chennault, someone else that I really like this year. I'm surprised Bryan Edwards' ADP isn't a little higher, but I understand, I guess. I think, I was actually going to draft John Mechie, and then he just went. I saw him there. I think he's really sneaky as a big slot for the Texans and a team that's probably going to have a lot of negative game scripts. I will go AJ Green here because, again, D-Hop's out week 1 through 6. And you've got, Hollywood Brown, AJ Green, Christian Kirk is out of there. Rondale Moore will be probably the third guy in this offense. You could easily see Green be the number 2 player and do some nice things in the short term. So I'll take that as an early season pickup there for that position group. What do we got? 5 running backs. That makes me feel a lot better than I did at the start. So this is like a slight RB0. It's not really RB0 because, again, we drafted a running back with the 9th pick in the entire thing. But in terms of overall how often we addressed the position early in today's draft, it was very sparse. We did that once in the top 105 picks. We won 105 picks before we took a second running back, which was James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. Leviska Chennault is kind of the guy I'm looking to draft here. He's another one of my sleeper wide receivers that I think doesn't get talked about enough. I think he's got a potential nice use case as a nice tight end, or excuse me, a nice big slot receiver. I was looking at Cade Otton there, thought tight end. Cade Otton's a really nice sleeper if you're going to draft him in the 18th round as well. Maybe you got the last pick in your draft. Something to think about there. All right, I think he fell to us. Where did he go? Leviska Chennault, third-year receiver from the 2020 draft. out of the University of Colorado, or was it Colorado State, I think, for Chennault or the Bison or whatever. But besides the point, we'll do a quick recap of today's draft. Here's the draft board one more time. You guys can pause the video as I scroll through here and take a peek at things if you're wanting to do so. Otherwise, again, we'll break down the team really quick here and then send you guys on your way to have a great rest of your day. Again, thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode. I appreciate the heck out of each and every single one of you all that took the time to watch today's video. Again, if you got questions, comments, concerns, please drop that stuff down in the comments. I'll get back to you guys, help you out as much as I can this year. Go check out sizzlefantasy.com. The draft guides for the 2022 season, both redraft and dynasty, comes with the monthly subscription to SFS Gold. Or you'll get access through the Super Bowl if you go check out the free tutorial video that I have on how to set up your draft guide access for this year. And again, those get fulfilled on Fridays. Otherwise, you can email me at sizzlefantasysports@gmail.com and let me know the email address you signed up for on Underdog Fantasy. And I can check with the guys, verify that you use the code. And if that's the case, we'll get you hooked up with draft guide access early. Again, that'll go through the Super Bowl of 2022, or it'll technically be 2023 at that point. So go check all that stuff out, you guys. As soon as these next two picks are made, we'll do our quick recap and breakdown of the team. Again, don't forget about that fantasy league. I've got 6 spots to fill in the description of today's video. That, again, is just $3 to enter. There will be a prize pool for first, second, and third place, I believe. And we will set up as many drafts as we fill this year, as many leagues as we can create under a paid format. We're going to do that. I want to have fun with you guys. I will be a part of every single one of those just because I want to participate in stuff with you guys this year. You can see how many drafts I've already done this season. We're going to do a whole lot more in July. We're going to be ramping up the output of these type of videos, and you guys can see if you can beat me. Drop down in the comment section again, get yourself a free, the description, get yourself a free draft guide and play in some fantasy leagues together this season. Matt Stafford and Jared Goff are the 2 QBs for today's video. We dived deep into the later rounds of the draft after drafting Najee Harris 9th overall. We went James Cook, Naheem Hines, Rojo, Tyron Davis-Price, hoping to hit on some upside and some niche value in those offenses. And then we've got Mike Evans, DJ Moore, Chris Godwin, a really nice 3-headed receiver monster there. It's going to be rough in Week 11, but we've also got Juju, Traylon Burks, Christian Watson, Alec Pierce, AJ Green, and Leviska Chennault, hopefully to pull us through the down stretch of the season if a couple of those guys, whether it be Burks, Smith-Schuster, Watson, maybe a Chennault hits, Pierce, you never know. I think that Green will probably be faded out by the end of the season, but in terms of just being an older player and having D-Hop come back. But I think it's a really nice receiver group. I'm excited about what that means. We've only got one bye week, that being week 14, with 4 or more players. And then other than that, it's pretty good with having just 3 guys on a bye week, or a lot of them are just 2. And then tight ends, Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst. Kyle Pitts is theoretically supposed to start for this team every single week outside of that week 14 bye. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed, again, one more time, make sure to drop down, leave a like, and click that subscribe button. It helps us out a ton here. And turn the bell on so you're never late for an episode. And I will see you guys next time. Peace out.